Welcome to the Silver Report Uncut. Here we are. It's Saturday, June 10th, 2017. We have gold currently trading at $1,267.40. Silver is trading at $17.27. And let's get right into some of the economic factors that will be playing a part into the price of precious metals. Because what do we face as a nation? I know that it's been a busy week as far as headlines go, but what do we really face? And it comes down to a dynamic shift that took place in our country decades ago. Because when we examine what is economic collapse and what is the great fear of economic collapse, and really we live in extreme prosperity in the United States. Our way of life has been declining, but the real issue that we face is the fact that we've been converted over to a consumerism society. And if you don't believe that that is true, or even understand what that means in context. For example, look around at our nation's outstanding credit card debt. Now, is it their fault? We have been plunged into this desperate situation. Recently, we've watched wages declining. We've seen the fact that prices have been escalating. The Federal Reserve is complaining they're not getting enough inflation from our pocketbooks, but we're definitely seeing increased prices on goods throughout the country. More increasingly, Americans are finding it difficult just to survive, just to pay down their bills. And so what happens? We have a seize up in credit. We have a seize up in purchases of major assets. So why do the controllers fear this so much? And why do we fear this so much? Well, let me tell you, the main danger that we face in all of this is the fact that our country, for a long time, has been very prosperous, and we've learned to live our life where we go to the grocery store to get our goods, to go to the grocery store to go and pick up our food, when we've really come out of a country in which most of the time people knew the name of their dinner. And I'm not just talking about what type of meat it was, but they actually knew the name because it was a pet. And people actually worked the land and grew food. And so this is the great danger we find ourselves in, is that we've slowly entered into a culture through the 80s where success is defined by having a lot of things. And then we get in this rat race and we chase these things over and over again. And now if you have been fortunate enough to be able to escape this mind warping that they put on you, where they say that you need to have all the newest gadgets, things, toys, etc., watches, suits, all these things, and just to chase for money. It comes out of this lack that was present with us before the society took this shape. And this desire for people to have an abundance, for safety, for security. But yet that abundance has been directed into shopping malls. As we're watching them collapse now, it is what really is scaring the controllers of our economy. What really is scary about it all. I remember George Bush Jr. during his term, and we had went through what they called the 9/11 episode, and then he made a speech. He said we should not allow the terrorists to win and to affect the way we operate. We can't have them have us stop conducting business. More importantly, we can't stop shopping. Now, this was before the financial crisis. What they saw was a seize up, an ending of spending within the United States, and they had some great concerns, so much that they were urging people, shop, shop, shop. And so we have a society that's largely dependent and addicted to this lifestyle, which makes withdrawal much, much worse. In fact, it makes it a very painful process. We went through some major stock market crashes before in our country, and we largely were able to pull ourselves out of it. Now that everything has been switched over for ease of life and comfort, and excess is the new success, now we find ourselves in increasingly difficult situations where small problems become massive problems because it reaches throughout society. Small downturns in different systems that they shut up, because ultimately these banks, their purpose was to profit. How do they profit? Get people to spend, and spend so much that they need to borrow. And when they borrow, we collect interest as well as the money back that we lend to them. On top of that, we take everybody's money to be able to give us the power and control to lend out that money. And when people stop borrowing, we enter crisis mode. And then all of the people that are playing the stock market end up losing money, and then businesses shutter doors, they have downturns, and all of this, it comes down when people stop spending. So what do we do with a country who no longer is making the paychecks to spend? What do we do when wages are declining? How does this entire system survive? Well, the truth is, and a lot of people don't want to admit this, is that it can't. It is actually mathematically impossible to continue as it is. And a lot of people, they want to just keep pretending like everything is okay. And it's shocking whenever you see the people that get these large platforms where they can announce their message about what they think about the economy, and they're telling you everything is great, put your money in the stock market, because really they've lost their mind. Whenever you're seeing downturns like this and wages, that's the real thing to watch. There's so many other metrics that we watch whenever we're judging the economy, but one of the most dangerous things that can happen for this system that is built on consuming, that is built on borrowing, that is built on credit, that is built continuously, so much to the point where in the United States we don't even use money anymore to transact. Just an imaginary note, a promissory note that is printed by these controllers, and they need people borrowing. They need people spending. So what do we do when the people run out of money? When all of the money has been filtered up to the top, trickled up to the top, and that what is left in the United States is no longer independently wealthy citizens, but people just trying to keep a hold of their cars, keep their houses. And then people begin to save. That's the craziest thing for them. When you begin to save and to think about your family for the future, and then you begin to not take on credit, not take on debt, begin to pay with cash, you see, then you're a real radical to their system. You see, if everybody were to be responsible in the United States and to tighten up their belt and to actually operate their finances in a proper way, this is the reason they don't teach economics in high school, not real economics. This is the reason that they pretty much have turned our schools into indoctrination centers in order to prepare people to work, where we no longer have fine arts programs in high schools anymore, but what do we have? We have vo-tech programs, teaching them to be mechanics, teaching them to work, teaching them to get out and be electricians, something that's actually going to benefit them, because that's what it's all about money, right? That's the sad thing, that people no longer interact with one another, no longer know how to take care of one another, no longer know how to take care of themselves or their family apart from the almighty king dollar. And the weakening of this system will leave so many in a dreadful condition because it will come down. Ultimately, what is perceived as strength today in our economy, this lavish lifestyle that we've continued to live, is really a weakness. You know, I read somewhere that if you have $5 and no debt, you're richer than 90% of the people in America. And ultimately, the real strength that they perceive in this success is the weakness, because we no longer know how to survive without this system. We're addicted to it. They're addicted to it. Everybody needs it to continue because it's been going on so long that all of the supports to be able to maintain a healthy society have been removed and replaced by consumerism. If you just look over the landscape of the United States and realize this is the same vision that they have for the entire world, if everybody's just consuming and buying and working pointless jobs that are not actually advancing anything, that's what you see here in this service sector, having this boom of jobs. Well, if everybody's just making the food, eventually what you have is people run out of money to buy the food. And then there becomes less employees and less needs. But this desire for experience that has taken hold in the United States, this addictive nature, has us set for a certain collapse. Because any kind of gyration within their system causes massive pain. Most Americans in the United States can't even survive a $500 crisis right now. And that is dreadful. Wherein we used to own things. But this artificial credit market has elevated the prices of all things to the point where they're out of reach of everyday Americans. And people just don't have the money to maintain the system anymore. And it is already currently in a downward spiral that is irrecoverable. And people, they just want to push that aside and make everyone believe everything's okay. It was interesting in that George Bush speech how he sneered and giggled and tried to keep a smile the way he said it, tried to keep calm. I bet he was sweating bullets because he saw what was about to happen to the economy. He saw that the stock market was about to plunge under. He saw the defaults rising. He saw the housing market ready to implode. And the fact that they were terrified that people were not spending so much that they were sending out checks to every taxpayer in America. That's how much this system depends on this consumer lifestyle. And because people have felt the pain and that has not gone away since the crisis. The true sentiment that is out in the United States, this is evident in the election of Donald Trump as president, who campaigned on bringing back jobs, on making America prosperous. It's evident. Despite the numbers they point you to, despite the unemployment they point you to, what we saw was an overwhelming amount of Americans stand up and say, we want our jobs back. So it just shows the true state. So people are no longer spending, not the extravagant way that they used to. They're saving money, cutting corners, looking for any way possible. You see, it's all the largest brands. In all those videos we just did recently about the massive layoffs that are going on, it's all the most expensive top brands that have ruled in this country for so long. It is because America no longer is living the same extravagant lifestyle. True, some of your neighbors maybe, but on a whole, there's been a change in this country, and it's alarming to them. It's dangerous to them. And it really is setting the entire country, which is only held together by continual borrowing, lending, and spending, on a crash course that is unavoidable. And despite all of the metrics you watch, the pain is going to be so bad that we're going to see citizens eating out of garbage cans rather than saving for their 401ks. We're going to see banks taking people's savings and 401ks rather than allowing them to use it to survive. Because, of course, they got to survive. That's what we're truly facing in this country. And to be honest, it's just a tragedy. I thank you guys for joining us here at the Silver Report Uncut. If you like the content, be sure to subscribe, like the videos, share the videos, get the word out. I thank you so much for stopping by. As always, stay safe.